everyone, Emily here, and today I have for you some reading suggestions for Readathon that I'm going to do in August. So, first about the Readathon. The Readathon is Trope-iCal, so Trope, trope, um, for the different types of things that you might find and different plot lines that you might find in literature. So, Trope-iCal Readathon. And I don't know I can't, I'm sorry, I cannot remember who originated it, but I can tell you the website is Gen Reviews, Jen Reviews .wordpress.com, and I'll try to link that down below along with the original video that I saw for it. And so the whole premise of this readathon is you're divided up into teams based on your typical favorite genre, and then you're given 13 prompts that you can read. So you have your main prompt or the alternative prompt. So there's a total then of 26 prompts that you can complete. Then you have two tropes in your chosen genre. And then you have two books that they've selected to read for your genre. So you get points for completing a prompt. You get points for how many pages that you read. You get points for did you read a book with your team's chosen genre? And then did you read like a team book? Now, I don't have included for you the team books. I don't own my team's books. I'm Team Fantasy, by the way. Shocker. So I'm Team Fantasy. I don't have the two books that they've chose for the team, so I'm not going to read them because I have plenty of other options to choose from. So I'm going to show you 28 books. I will not be reading 28 books in August. But right now, these are books that I'm thinking about reading in August. There's no way that I can read 28 books. Like, I cannot read 28 books even when I'm not working. Like, it's July 18th when I'm filming this. And I've read 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm working on my 5th, and I've listened to a 6th. So so far I've read 5 books. And I'm not working. So there's no way that I'm going to read 28 books in August when I have a work conference at the beginning of the month and then the school year is starting up. And I have not done anything to prepare for the fall because I don't get paid to do that over the summer. And so I will think about planning for the fall when August hits because I'm very protective of my time, and that's just something that I do for me and to take care of my mental health when I teach and my stress levels. So that being said, I'm going to show you some suggestions and some ideas for the different prompts that you could potentially read. And then later I will be filming my official, here's what I plan on reading in August, okay? So, that being said, like I said, I am Team Fantasy, and a lot of the books that I have chosen are not fantasy books, simply because they're books that I wanted to read anyway this year to fulfill some other reading challenges, and I haven't read them yet because I've been reading other books. So, that being said, I'm going to show books kind of in pairs, okay? So I'm going to show first the main prompt and then the alternative prompt. So the main prompt first is Absent or Dead Parent, and Skyward by Brandon Sanderson would work. This is a story of Spencer who wants to get into a pilot academy, and her father has passed away after he was killed after he deserted his team on a mission. This for sure fits. It's a sci-fi. It's team sci-fi. So this would be an absent or dead parent prompt. And then the alternative prompt for that is 2 or more authors, and Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. James S.A. Corey is Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. They collaborated on the Expanse series. I have a good chunk of the books. I have yet to read them, but I do want to read these books because I want to watch The Expanse. And so I've decided I cannot watch at least the first season without reading book 1. Okay, then the next set of prompts, the main prompt is Love Triangle, and that is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is her first book in the Infernal Devices series. It's kind of set in Victorian times, pre-Shadowhunters. I do want to read this anyway. It would fit a love triangle. The alternative prompt was friends choose between a couple of different options. So in a Discord that I'm in, I said, hey, help me choose between 2 books for this prompt. And they chose The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. So this is her first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. And each book, she won the Hugo Award 3 years in a row for each book in this trilogy. So this has kind of been hot on my radar ever since I first heard about this book. So, which really hasn't been that long because I haven't really watched, I've started watching YouTube around this time last year. So for a year I've been wanting to read this book. So 5th season. Then the next set of prompts, New Kid in Town. And that would be The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. It is a novel, but it's semi-autobiographical, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But basically, he is a new kid on town because there's a Native American who then he leaves the reservation to attend an all-white school in a neighboring town. And he's the only Native American there. So he's for sure a new kid in town in this book. And then genre that you normally don't read, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I typically don't read thrillers. I kind of gave up on them simply because there's just so many dysfunctional people in thrillers, and I feel like I just hear so much about dysfunctions on the news, life, that like when I read, I want to be transported out of the dysfunction and not have that. So that's why I don't read too many thrillers, but the concept behind this is really intriguing. I've heard a lot of buzz about it, so at some point in time I do want to read this just to say, is this really good or not? And man, those eyes staring at you are really kind of creepy. Then the next book, set of pair of books, the main prompt is Dark Academia, which is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. All I really know about this is I think like secret societies at Yale, maybe. I don't know. I've heard it's kind of hit or miss for people. People either love it or hate it. And I do know the second book is coming out in January or February of next year. So at some point in time I want to read this soon. So that way, if I want to read the new book, I am ready to do so when it comes out. Then the alternative prompt is a borrowed book. And for that, I am going to read something on my Kindle Unlimited, which is either book 2 of the Percy Jackson series or book 3. I don't know, one of the Percy Jackson books, or A Quiet Life in the Country, which is a quirky murder mystery from what I understand. Then the next set of prompts is a holiday book, and that would be Gingerbread Cookie Murder, and it's a set of novellas, one by Joanne Fluke, one by Laura Levine, and one by Leslie Meyer. I love Joanne Fluke. Like, I love her. So I got this at a used book sale. Was actually kind of planning on reading around Christmas time, but there's a holiday in this book, so it'll fit for the prompt. And then the alternative prompt would be takes place in another country. And the tattoo is of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. For sure takes place in another country, takes place in Poland. This has been so hyped, and yet I have yet to read this book. And so I think beginning of August, if I were to read this for this readathon, I'd have to read it at the beginning of August. Simply because the subject matter of it, and I know like my brain would not be able to take it if I'm reading it like and trying to juggle going back to school, going back to work. So I do need to read this. It's just a matter of when. Then the next set of prompts is Blast from the Past. So this is like a book where someone's past comes into play for them within the book. And, pardon me, sorry, that would be Kindred by Octavia Butler. And I don't want to say too much about this book because I kind of do know the spoiler and the twist around it. But basically, from what I understand, it is the story of a woman in the 1970s, and she time travels back to pre-Civil War South and to living as a slave on a plantation. And she keeps like hopping back and forth between the present day and past. And each time that she spends in the past, she's there just a little bit longer. And I have been wanting to read Octavia Butler since so many people rave about her. So, and then speaking of Octavia Butler, the alternative prompt for Blast from the Past is published before 2000, and that would be Patternest by Octavia Butler. And this one, it sounds like two brothers are trying to like vie each other for power, if I got this right. I don't know too much about it, but it looks, I mean, it's short, but from what I understand about Octavia Butler, I should not be deceived by the length, that she is an author who can pack a lot in a short space. Then the next set of prompts is mixed media. For the main prompt, sorry, I have books on the floor that I'm reaching down to grab. So for books with mixed media, that would be Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. And this is told through like different classified files, emails, and so like video surveillance, transcripts. So I've read this series before and I enjoyed it, and I've been meaning to reread it. And then the alternative prompt for mixed media is an audio or an ebook. And I have Legends and Lattes on ebook right now that I borrowed from Kindle Unlimited. So there's that. Just anything from Kindle Unlimited or an audiobook that I check out from the library. Then the next two set of prompts, sorry, these are way at the bottom on the floor. The next two set of prompts, one is apocalyptic or dystopia. I have two ideas for this one. I'm going to show you the first one. One would be Delirium, as this one was the first one that came to my mind, by Lauren Oliver. This is a trilogy, and basically the premise of this is that that falling in love is bad, I believe. And once you hit a certain age that you have to go through a procedure. I read this a while ago and I can't remember. I feel like once you hit like 16, you have to go through a procedure so that way you don't fall in love at all. Could be wrong on that. The other option that I have so I've read this before, it's just been a while, I've been wanting to reread it. The other option that I have been toying with is Fahrenheit 451. It's been on my TBR for a couple months, and I have never read Fahrenheit 451. So, shockingly. Then the alternative for an apocalyptic or dystopia fiction is a comfort read. And that would be Izzy, Willy, Nilly by Cynthia Voigt. I've read this numerous times in high school and college, or whenever it came out. And it is the story, I'm looking now to see when it was published. Oh, 1987. So, middle school, high school for me. So this is a story of a girl who, she attends a party, and she's a cheerleader. She is a sophomore, I believe, and a guy asks her to a party. He's a senior, so of course she goes, and they drink at the party, and he's drunk, and he drives her home. They get into a car accident, and she sustains injuries that are so severe that one of her legs is amputated. And so now she has to live life and learn how to adjust to that. And that sounds weird that this is a comfort read, I know, but like for me it's a comfort read because she makes a friend who's kind of like the outcast at school, and that friendship just kind of blossoms, and it was just a beautiful tale of friendship and her trying to figure in now, like, what is my identity? All right, then the next two sets of prompts. The first is Found Family, is the main prompt, and that would be Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan. I'm not going to say too much about this, but there's Found Family. And then the second, the alternative prompt is books in a series. Now, like so many of what I'm reading and what I've planned could work for the alternative prompt, but I want to do something and I want to show something that you cannot double up on prompts for this readathon. So one prompt, one book. Excuse me. So, hence why I have a different book to show you. And that would be Unwind by Neil Shusterman. And this would also work for dystopia. But from what I understand is that between the ages of 13 and 18, parents can like unwind their child where like their organs are transplanted into other people. So like technically life doesn't end. So I've been meaning to read this for years. All right. We have 4 sets of prompts left. So the next set, the main prompt is a book by or about a celebrity, and that could be Prairie Fires, which is Prairie Fires, The American Dreams of Laura Ingalls Wilder by Caroline Fraser. And this won the Pulitzer Prize for nonfiction the year that it came out. It's about Laura Ingalls Wilder, and I loved her books growing up. The alternative prompt is recommended by a celebrity. And so this is Fable by Adrienne Young, and this was YA pick for Reese Witherspoon's book club. And I don't know too much other than it's a YA, and I think it's fantasy. Then the next set of prompts, the main prompt is Multiple Point of Views. Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I keep saying I'm going to read this, and other books kind of bump it, so at some point in time I have to read Warbreaker. And then the alternative prompt is multiple POC characters, and that would be The Inheritance of Orcadia Divinia by Zoraida Cordova. Then the next set of prompts is bookish themes is the main prompt, and that would be Beach Read by Emily Henry. I've read this before. I had checked it out of the library, and I just acquired it from Book of the Month as my add-on. And then Pun in the Title. So I don't have that to show. That is also on my Kindle, and the book title is A Trifle Dead, and like trifle, it's like a little bit, or trifle like the dessert that you would eat. So kind of like a goofy, cozy mystery. Then the last set of like prompts, the main prompt is a retelling. And that would be Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik that you could use. And this is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. Or TV or movie adaptation. There are so many that I could use that I have. But the first one that I haven't read in a while, or that I've had for a while but have not read, sorry about that, is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. So The Handmaid's Tale is the first book in this series. It was made into, obviously, the Hulu TV show, which I actually have not seen. I watched like an episode, and I could not handle the visualness of it. Like, I could not handle how the women were treated by men. I could handle it in the book form. Visual representation, I couldn't handle it. So I stopped watching it. Not saying that it was a bad TV show, I emotionally couldn't handle it. I've heard bad things about this book, so I don't know. I might try it, and it might be a quick DNF. I don't know. Then the teen challenges. Okay, so teen challenge number 1 is set in a pre-modern setting. That would be Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which is the last trilogy of her Realm of the Elderlings. So this would be book 14 in the Realm of the Elderlings series. And it for sure has a very medieval vibe to it. So I would say this is set in a pre-modern setting. You could also use Black Sun or Fevered Star, which is set in pre-Columbian times. I really enjoyed those 2 books. Then Dwindling Magic. There are 2 options that you can use. So one, if I do choose to read a Dwindling Magic book, which you get more points if you read your teen challenge books versus just the regular prompts. Okay? So if I choose to read Teen Challenge 2 for Dwindling Magic, I probably will read Rage and Ruin, which is a Kindle Unlimited book that I have, and I don't think it's as long as the one that I'm going to next show you. The one that I'm going to next show you is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Suzanna Clark, and this is about magicians and set during the Napoleonic Wars, at the end of them. And Mr. Norrell apparently is a reclusive magician, and he's discovered, and apparently there's rumors that he raised a woman from the dead. I've heard good things about this. I just don't know if I'll get to this. I just got this at my library book sale for $2. $2, folks, for this beautiful hardcover. I just don't know if I'm going to read it. It is like 800 pages long, and I have other books that I really desperately want to read this year. So given that August is going to start the busyness and the craziness, I don't know if I'm going to read this one. That is it for different ideas that you could use for the Trope-iCal Readathon, or the Trope-iCal Readathon. please let me know in the comments down below what books that you think that I should read. I for sure have a couple ideas that I'm like, there are 3 books for sure that are like pretty high priority for me that I want to read. Um, there are a couple of other books that are pretty high that I'm like, I should probably read these. They've been here for a while. But 3 for sure I definitely know that I want to read. I want to have at least 5 that I for sure I'm going to read in August. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below of what you think I should be reading in August. Have a wonderful day.